Is Dalit correct? Yes, anyone? We did Tzivus Hashem, the summary of the Maamorim, but basically to Perek Yud Dalit, which is what this year's Maamorim focuses on, correct? Okay, so is Dalit, we can start there, yeah? Lahavin Inya, and to understand what? Shagam Shoir Hu Mutva Behester Behelen Beyoser, even though the divine light presence is literally sunken and concealed and covered exceedingly, because Malkim, they are Veda Bobe Giloi. But through Avodas, we reveal the divine force, the divine presence. To understand how this happens, implied in the question is also that the only way that existence can exist is if the earth, as we know it, as God intends it, is if the divine energy is concealed. So what does it mean that through Avodah we reveal and still existence remains? So now we're coming to the 14th chapter. So the chapter that corresponds to this year, that year, 1984, which was then the 14th year for the second time. And now we are for the fourth time. Kifalayim the Tushia, he's referring here to the second set of luchas, which were double measure of wisdom than were given with the first set. So that was pointing out the significance of that particular year. It's the second time, implying also the end of tshuva, the second set of luchas. So to understand all of this, writes the Fidik Rebbe in Perek Yud Daled as follows: in Ibchol Zeh, with respect to all of the above that he spoke earlier in the Maamorim, the highest creations, emanations to the lowest, with respect to all of it, the pasuk says, and you enliven them all. It's now a direct quote from Perek Yud Daled. So the divine light is drawn lahavis or lahachris, to create and to enliven. And the previous Maamorim, Tafshin Chav Daled, the Rebbe explains why. Hope you remember the answer. Why, even though we're talking about Hisavos, creation, which is a much greater feat, ex nihilo yesh ma'ayin, then machaya, then enliven, why the pasuk doesn't say mahava? Why do we have to read into to the machaya? Tikar machaya. The Alter Rebbe says el mahava. Explained that in the previous Maamorim. Anybody wants to remind us the answer to the question? Okay, but nobody? Basically, because the Chiddush is in the Machaya, that the Mahava, what the Chiddush of what? The unchangingness of the Eir. Eine Misarev, in the words of the previous Rebbe, the Fidik Rebbe, doesn't mix and remains essentially infinite, so that the infinite power creates Yesh Ma'ayin. Well, it takes an infinite power to do so. So that the Savos is unchanging in terms of the infinite presence. That's not such a chiddush. In fact, it can't be any other way. But machaya, which means invested and mislabish and enlivening, and that surely means each level on its level, and therefore this tzimtzum and contraction. Nonetheless, even this level of machaya, even the divine presence remains unchanged. The divine energy remains unchanged. That be'emes was the main nikud of the Fidik of the previous Maamorim. But all as achana to say that's still not the Eitzah. The Eitzah is the Melech himself. That's the big chiddush of the Maamorim of Tafshin Chav Daled, one of the many chiddushim. That the Eitzah granted to the foot soldier Bechlal was understood, it's the Ein Sof. That's what's given, hidden from Mishtalshalus. But Rebbe says, that no, that's still all Giloyim. The Eitzer, the hidden Eitzer, is the very king himself, the essence, Atzmus. Not just Atzim Ha'oir, the essence of the light, which is what we're speaking about here and now, but Atzmus itself. And that was part of the extraordinary revelations of the previous Maamorim. But continuing now, let's get the flow. So you enliven them all, says the pasuk, meaning the divine light energy presence is drawn to create and enliven, animate, as all existence from nothing to something. Like the Rebbe says in Tanya, the ha'ara, a reflection of a reflection, or a glimmer of a glimmer of a glimmer, of the Ein Sof is present in Ivroyim and Noitzrim, it's Eilam HaYitzira, and Nasim Eilam HaSiyah. Shehu ha'oir v'achayis ha'likish nimisha b'chol ha'nivroyim. It is this very Ein Sof that is drawn, notwithstanding the Tzimtzum. The Ein Sof remains essentially present and uncompromised, and is drawn into all of creations. Drawn into the lowest and the most beneath and lowest creations. As the pasuk says, if I spread apart the heavens, it's you. And if I spread my blanket in my bed in the grave, hineka, behold, it's you. That this Ein Sof is drawn on all of Ishtalshalus madrege, from level to level, ad madrege is to the lowest levels. Now, the Nakud of the answer in the Fitik of his mind is this is an absolute contradiction. We're talking about Oid and Tzimtzum. How's the insistence that the Oid remains uncompromised? He just said Tzimtzum, and it's drawn and invested in all of Allah's creations. Friends, there was one word answer that he gave, basically. He said it's not out of it, doesn't mix, therefore it's not affected, there's no real change. Why? This is from the Maamorim of the Rebbe. I was probably going to quote it in a moment. But does anybody remember? What's the hesber? Do you understand the question? Not changing? What do you mean not changing? You just said there's a tzimtzum, there's ishtalshalus. Could be any greater change than that. And the chiddush is mahava and mechaya. The mechaya property is the Ein itself. If it was just the mahava property, again, to create out of nothing, something out of nothing, it's the same miracle whether you're creating the loftiest or the lowliest. So there's no change in these havas, meaning that the Ein Sof must be present to be mahava, everything equally. That's understood. The chiddush is v'ata machaya. That the Ein Sof, you're telling me, at once is invested and animating each level of creation according to its level, and still the Ein Sof remains Ein Sof, infinite. So what did the Tzimtzum do? So there's one word that he said. The Fidik Rebbe says to explain this. One word. He's going to quote it probably here. No, to the end of the Earth, which David doesn't quote here, but I'll remind you, and this is, we learn to learn. I mean, it's a difficult mind, but I agree, granted. But there's no, has to be relearned, and if you have questions, ask. We'll try and answer. The one word is etzem ba'or. It's an enigmatic word, etzem. The essence of the light. It's just words. What does this mean? Now, I'm a Gil student sitting here like he's, oh, I want to understand this. Please explain this to me. What are you talking about? First of all, what is light altogether? Talking about God. The essence, which implying stam, ordinary which changes. It doesn't change. Okay, to put it perhaps into simple language, perhaps Etzem means basically that Hashem is saying, all of this that I'm doing, I am invested in. Notwithstanding, externally, there's tremendous things going on and changes in higher and lower, holier Kodesh and levels of Kodesh. But in all my revelation, it's because it's all in order because Nis'ava HaKadosh Baruch Hu Atzmos, the very essence of the Eibishter, desired a dir b'tachtonim, and that's why all of this is happening. And therefore, in every stage of it, in essence, this truth, that this is all rooted in Hashem's essential desire. For a dir, that's the etzem ma'or. Etzem means it carries all of these activities, productions, revelations, worlds, endless worlds, angels, and so on. The words of the Maimon, Ivroim, Noitzim, Nasim, all this, that's the three, it's Biyah, all of it. And certainly Atzilus. Why is all this happening? Because there's one essential desire. That's my desire for a dir b'tachtonim. To make this clearer, again, Hashem is not a creator. A creator has no choice but to create. An artist has, that's what an artist is. The artist expresses himself in his art. It's not a decision. It's just his natural expression. Now, in producing his art, there are pieces of art that deeply expresses of him, and then there are simple doodles and drawings that are not. So, light, using the metaphor of light, actually, that metaphor would not be light there so much. What I'm saying is he's more invested and less invested in different productions. More time, less time, deeper, not deeper. But the Eibush to the whole thing, everything, all starts, friends, the whole being a creator and everything begins with a decision in Atzmos, in the very essence of Hashem. This is not a natural expression. He's not a creator. And because all of it is rooted in this essential, I want to dir b'tachtonim, therefore, that essential I of God is carried through in every aspect of his creation, every aspect of it. Because it's all an expression of the singular, essential desire, dir b'tachtonim. So everywhere, externally, it's all very different. Higher worlds, lower worlds, it's a whole hierarchy. But not lost in essence, the etzem ma'or is, why all of this? Because I, in the deepest way, want the dir b'tachtonim. That's the meaning of the etzem ma'or. It doesn't mix with the creation, meaning to say, it doesn't mix with the creation. You created it, you don't mix with it. Does it mix with the creation means that the creation is not something that naturally is expressed by God. He's not a creator. This point has to be very clear, or we don't understand anything. He's not a creator. The etzem ba'or doesn't mix means, so why is all this? Because he decided. Because Atzmos decided. And therefore all of this. Therefore all of creation. And therefore there's an unchangingness, therefore, at every level, because all of it says one truth. My desire to be connected to you. That's why I made Atzilus and the Bri and Atzilus and Yitzir and everything else. What we learned in the previous Maamorim, this is extraordinary. But that's it means the creative process. Still the process. Still the Giluyim that God produces. What is the Eibush to give at the end of Golus for the foot soldiers, you and I, to bring about the redemption? Personal and collective is not just the etzem ha'or, which is extraordinary, the ha'or insof, but the very Melech himself. That's the end. The Anon Nosiv Malka. The Oitzer is the Melech. The very eye, not the eye as opposed. What's etzem ha'or? The ha'or conceals a little bit the very eye, because the ha'or Tzilis produces all of this great ishtalshalis, higher, lower angels. The Pnimius, the etzem ha'or, the creative force doesn't change, because it's all an expression of the unchanging essential eye of God. But that's the Pnimius. What's thrown out, what's revealed without cheshbon at the end of Golus is it's Atzmos, is the very Melech. Invested in every soldier. That was the Nakud of Tavshin Chav Dalet. At least one of them. What I said now makes a bit of sense or not? Could we repeat it to a McGill student? We have to think about it a bit and then do it. Let's continue the words. This is not new to us. This is now Yudalit, that we're reading over and over again. Let's just continue. The Eid Ein Sof, as he explained to the Etzem Eid, is present at every level of Ishtalshalus. Again, the key to understanding this is that Hashem is not a creator. This is all a deep decision that comes from his very essence, and therefore that truth is present in every step, small and large. Why is there not Tzilis? Why is there the Bria? Why is there Yitzira? Why are there the Malachim, Strafim, and Chayis HaKodesh and Nefanim? Why all of this? The end? Why? Because this. So that's the Etzem Ha'or, that essential truth that is present in the creative force in every step of creation, of manifestation, of revelation, and creation. Yeah, let's continue. It's called Adam, and every person, even the simplest person, can know, can know this, can know what conceive. It's explained in the previous Oisius. Atkan Lashain Rebbe stops the quote over here. Can see the infinite expression of God. That's the Nakud, as he says it. That's the infinite creations and expression of Hashem, the integration in all of creation. Behind the Rebbe summarizes the previous chapter last year. How externally the light comes down through tremendous concealments and contractions, lower and lower creations. But then, but now in our chapter this year, he explains the other extreme, or the other dimension, the deeper one, namely, externally this is tremendous change. down the chain of command of Ishtalshalus, as it were. But Bepnimius is the Ois Nimshach is present and illuminates it on every station, every level. And every place that he's drawn, even the lowest level, it's revealed. It seems that one of the components of this is, where do you see the revealed aspect? Is that if you look closely at every level of creation, there's infinite creations. Even though we're overall finite, coming down to a corporeal world, but our physical universe has infinite components. So that's that was Perek Yud Gimel, the bligvolness that we see peaking, just through a bit of, that's why every person can appreciate this, the infiniteness of the creative force as manifest in the infinite creations on all of the levels, even down here, even our universe. They're literally endless components. There's no number that could be devised to contain the number of atoms or subatomic particles in the universe. Certainly, and even more external view of creation. So now, continuing, Perek Yud Daled, Kumudgish b'pasuk, as he brings the Ohr Ein Sof can be seen, can be ascertained through, even he said, the simplest meditation. So this is underscored in the pasuk, Shemevi b'tchilas haperek v'ata machayis kulam. And you animate them all. V'ata, when you say you, we're referring to a revelation that is accessible. You, he is third person, concealed. You means a direct communication. Lashon noichach, it's second person. Hainu, shachayis elikish b'chol nivraim v'begillah kol kach. The divine energy in creation is so revealed and so apparent. We can say about it's so real that the Jew says, it's revealed. The infinite expression and power of Hashem. Like he explained, and that the Chiddush is even the Mahave. To every step of creation, the divine light, notwithstanding the Tzimtzum, it does not affect, it doesn't change again, because in simple language. Why? Because at every step of the way, what is it? My desire for a dir b'tachtonim with you. That's the unchangingness of the truth of every step of creation. It's all for you. My chosen desire. So where is the change? That's in the external observation of the process. There you see the change. And that to which we talk about, that there's a change, higher levels of revelation, lower levels of revelation, because the divine energy fuses and is invested in creation. Being invested, therefore affects the change. Now the pshat is, again, all of these levels are concurrent. And then was going to add a fourth level. Chayis and koyach, that's three. And then there's going to be, you say, a fourth level. But it's all one God. It's all dimensions of his revelation. But Pnimius, there's no change. Externally, there is. And what level? Not the level of Ohr, but the level of koyach. This cloud, but in this very investure, mitzad the Ohr, there's no change again. What is the Ohr? The Ohr carries through the truth. Why is all of this happening? Because Atzmos wants a dir b'tachtonim. There's no change. That's the same answer to every single level of creation. But the level of koyach is already looking at the externality of it. This is closer to God. This is further. This is holy. This is less holy, more holy. That's already from, it's like das tachten, if you like. In simple language, the Ohr is das elyon, and the koyach is das tachten. From das tachten, it's closer, this further. Mitzad das elyon, this is all my desire. It's all one kavanah. It's all one truth. From the perspective of Das Elyon, there's no further, there's no closer, it's all him. From us, there's closer, further, somewhat clear. So it could be said, I'm suggesting this, that Chayas is the idea of Chayas is similar to Das Tachten, the way we externally see creation. And there's a change. Bria is not Atzilis, and Yitzir is not Bria. This is lower and further. That's change, further, lower. For Hashem, there's no change. It's all within him. And there's one answer to why everything is the essential desire of Hashem to have a relationship with you and I in this world. That involves myriads of steps and levels, but they're all for one objective. But in the world of the levels, they're worlds apart. In their world, they're worlds apart. There's a change. Is that somewhat clear? Yuvan Zapiyadua. Now the Rebbe is saying this koyach, that the level of koyach, there is change. Yeah, it's really important to have a McGill student here, because it can be completely like words and get lost in space here. Not even in space. But we're talking about one Eibishter, simple English, one God creating. It's got to be explained simply, that he will understand. Yuvan Zapiyadu, but to understand this, that this idea of Chayes, of Koyach, the level of Koyach, what that means, by introducing the three expressions that we find the Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya: Oir, Chayes, and Koyach. Light, in translation, these are all metaphoric terms. Oir, light, Chayes. How would you translate Chayes? Anybody? Huh?
Vitality.
Okay, vitality. Koyach. They're just words. We can just English power. So Oir, Chayes, and Koyach. There's one God, one Eibishter, and it's all him. So the difference between all of this, essentially, again, is our perception. That's what the Tzimtzum does, creates. It does create from the perception of creation, higher, lower, distance, a whole ladder of divinity. And he said in the previous Rebbe says that the inyan of koyach really only emerges in Olam Abriya, because the Tzimtzum then creates this sense of separation. We start using the term koyach. But higher than that, the divine energy is transparently divine emanation. Just bear this in mind, this simple truth. It's one God, and is not revealing different things. It's revealing himself. The differences are that the etzem is not misadev. There's no change. The change is from our perception, which he deliberately designed through the process of tzimtzum and the whole seder shtalshalos. Okay, let's continue. Such a case of Dr. writes in Tanya, these gimel lashonos of Oir, Chayes, and Koyach and gimel madreges, the three levels. Like the Mitleb explains in Imre Bina, they explain as follows: the Koyach, when we use the word Koyach, Koyach is nivdal mim koyrei, when the divine energy is no longer seen to be connected to its source. Friends, what's the physical parallel down here for Koyach? Throwing a rock. The rock is sailing through the air. Why? What's causing it to sail through the air? The energy that the person produced, but it's completely separated from the person. Now, for God, this isn't so, but it appears so. But yeah, already creation, because the tzimtzum is so great, yeah, it all comes from God, but the experience that is connected constantly. And not, no, it's not. There's this sense of separation, of self. Like the force that carries the rock comes from the person, but it's on its own. It's gone. And therefore, this is exactly what we're saying. In the koyach, Hashem's concealed so greatly as he manifests koyach, that the koyach appears to be, comes from him, but separate, producing something else other than him. But the two higher levels of Oyer and Chayis, there's no sense of separation at all, constant connection. These are divine energies that transparently express him. They're dvukim, they're attached to their source. And there can never be the delusion of separation or sense when the Oyer and Chayis are revealed. Because we're constantly feeling the divine force that creates us. But we're not. We're in the world of koyach, where we don't feel the connection. So Oyer and Chayis are all about revelation. So why do we have these two words? Why are there two words? Because there is a divine revelation ever present, that the term here is it's infinite, and we cannot apprehend it. So it's makiv, it's transcendent, and doesn't come bislapshus. Mashenke nachayis, which is still oir, we call it chayis, this is the divine energy that is invested and tailored to each creation according to its level. That's because it's safe of Mamali, what we're talking about here, friends. We're clear? Because of the tzimtzum, so it's still, you can still clearly, it expresses the source, not like koyach, but not to the same degree as the oir, like because of the tzimtzum. Sevim Mamali. The chiddush is eine mishtane, even the level of what? Of the chayis remains unchanged in essence. Because even the level of chayis is attached to its source. In a simple language, it means, why is this happening? It reveals the truth, that this is what the Eibishter wants, so therefore, it remains unchanging at every level. It's the same answer to every level of creation. Even at this level, God is getting involved in the nitty-gritty of creating different creations and investing in them to different degrees. Those different degrees of investure are only external. But Pnimi is just the same investure. It's all the expression of the same objective, the etzem ha'or. That's what it's meant by etzem ha'or, that I want to have a dir b'tachtonim. That's why all of this. Okay, so we need to know here, because now comes the fourth level. So help me here, friends, in our definitions. Okay, please respond. The McGill student. Oir, Chayis, and Koyach, what are they? What's Oir, what's Chayis, and what's Koyach? Think a bit. Yeah, that's hints. Oir level is makif, highest level is pnimi, and koyach seem separate altogether. How about a mashal? We gave this mashal. Give the mashal again. It's going to be helpful for us. The mashal of the chassid and his effect and his environment. No, it's three effects, levels of effect. Oir will be what? Present. He's just being himself. And he just radiates a presence that's inspiring. What will be chayis? A shir. But he's giving a shir to many people at the same time, but there's a communication. He's teaching. And what would be koyach? Personal hashpah, sitting down hours and so on. Now, at that level, is he affected and changed? On that level, the third level, you get involved in someone's life. The highs, the lows, the pains, etc. I know of someone that in his early days of shlichus and exposed to things, he heard such things from the person who was pouring out their heart. He gagged it as he threw up. Hearing such a horrific story. So that level of chayis is change. That's koyach, that's change. Why is this a good marshal? It's the same person. It's the same person. Oir is his presence. Chayis, without communicating, just radiating his presence. He's here, he's there. Chayis is, he's communicating, bringing a shir, but again, not mislabish, but pnimius in the other person's mind and heart and world. And chayis, rather koyach, that would be chayis. And koyach is getting invested in that person's world and change. So these are all three levels. Kavayachal l'mayla. The oir and the chayis, the oir, the etzem oir, wherever you put the chassid, no matter environment he is, he's the same chassid. Doesn't change. That's where you see the unchangingness. Do you see a change in chayis? Yes, depends on who he's teaching. Teaching a higher class, a lower class, basics not. It's a change in the chayis. And the koyach avada certainly is a change in his output. The koyach is mamash getting invested in that world. Okay, we'll revisit this a little bit tomorrow. Please think about it. And the Rebbe asks, he says, hey, there's a fourth level. Shame, the name. Why doesn't the Frierdiker ever talk about that in his mind? That's a question coming tomorrow. We need to think about today a little bit, right?
Thank you. Welcome back.
Huh?
Welcome back and thank you.
A wonderful day, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi.